Hello, product people. Welcome to the Product for Product podcast, hosted by Matt Green, data advocate and product manager, and Moshe Mikanovsky, product leader and author. Our goal is to serve the product community by helping you find products that can help make your work in product management easier. Thanks for joining us on another episode of the Product for Product podcast.
Welcome back. Today we're wrapping up our series on UX, UI, and wireframing. We had a great time speaking with several members of the product community about tools in this space. We covered Figma, Miro, Lucidchart, and Balsamiq. I think we learned quite a bit. So let's go ahead and hop in. How you doing, Moshe?
I'm good. How are you, Matt?
Doing really good. Fall's in the air. Halloween's almost here.
Oh, yes. Halloween is very soon. That's true.
Yes.
Beautiful outside with all the colors. I love the orange. Orange is my favorite color.
Yeah.
But I prefer if it was spring rather than fall.
Yeah. Spring's nice as well. Yeah, I love the colors.
I wouldn't mind fall and spring right away.
Just go ahead and skip right. Oh yeah, especially in Toronto. So just go ahead and skip right.
Skip the winter.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, for a product like that, I have to move.
Yeah, that's true. Come on down to Atlanta. You get like a couple of days, maybe a day of snow.
Yeah,
maybe a couple of days at most.
Yeah.
But yeah, we get all the seasons as long as you can deal with humidity in the summer.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah, it's quite nice though. I went for a walk today out in the woods and lots of red, yellows, and oranges, and it was really, really nice. It was nice to get out.
Yeah, I hope everyone is enjoying it as well. So this is wrapping up the UX, UI, wireframing series. It's more wireframing, UX, and UI is kind of like the last thing, really. Yeah. Because it's really more about wireframing, I think. Yeah. Rather than anything else, because as product people, we have our limitations. So to say that we are UI designers might be to most of us, I think, might be overkill. Although many of us, have that background, right?
Yeah, we're further upstream than if we have interviewed designers dealing more with the UI of things, but in speaking with product managers, we are further upstream dealing with those kind of wireframe mock-up scenarios.
Well, the nice thing is that the more we build products and we have more experience, I think we can be more dangerous with this as well. Yep. Because we can develop a sense of what works, what not, and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, it's really about the users and whether they will be able to use it, right, etc. And what works in one place with one color might not work in another place with another color. So it's not always the same thing. But this is an interesting one as well, because I think that many years ago, UX UI wasn't really a thing.
That's true.
Back then when we developed software, who cared what the UX UI was?
Yeah, that's what you were saying, right?
I did the design myself. I was a developer for many years, and also the tools that I had were much more limited. So I started developing on terminals, mainframe and other type of terminals that we just have monitors with two colors, orange and black or green and black.
Yeah, that's it. And the idea of collaboration wasn't even the thing. So, right. So.
Yeah, I mean, collaboration. Who is thinking about collaboration? I'm talking about designing the screen, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So the rule back then was 7 plus minus items on the screen. It was
very basic.
Very, very basic.
Yep.
No, but joking aside, and I also mentioned it in some of the episodes, I think, that my tool of choice was Paint. Because I would take a screenshot of the existing application that I had or a similar application, and then I would start with Paint, moving stuff around, filling the gaps with picking color and dropping it in the areas where I need to fill it in, and whatever. And that was really the extent of my design abilities. But so tools definitely became much more sophisticated in the past, I guess, 5-10 years.
Yep.
With collaboration, with cloud storage and stuff like that, versioning, templating, lots of many different features. At the end of the day, it's really about, do we do the right thing? Do we wireframe it before we jump into a design?
Yep.
And we talked about it a few times that a tool like Figma, you can get into the risk that it will be already high fidelity designs, and then before you figure out the user experience, and then people will get bogged down by the details of the design rather than by the experience itself.
Right. And we talked about that with Queenie. Queenie was, a designer in a past role before she became the product manager. But yeah, we definitely talked about that on just about the kind of the rush to do the high fidelity work and not thinking about necessarily like, what do we need to have? And so it got me thinking a lot about the jobs to be done, like in terms of like, what do you need? What job are you trying to do? Like, are you just trying to like put ideas down in a visual way? And something like Balsamiq is probably good at that. Or are you needing to put something out that's more mid-fi or hi-fi to where users are going to be able to engage with it and you can get feedback a lot quicker that way? It just got me thinking about like, what work do you need to be doing as a product manager?
Well, at the end of the day, I think, well, I might be wrong here, but I think every product manager throughout their career will encounter all of these. And in most cases, you probably will need all of these. You will need to, ideate and create some very low fidelity ideas that you can quickly change. Right. You will need some type of a prototype that people can look into and try, and then you will see whether it is working for them or not, whether they understand it or not. You will need eventually a way to create a high fidelity one, so the developers will be able to develop based on that. So I think that probably if not in one specific job, then in another job, or if not on one product, then on another product, probably all of us will at one time need all of these. But there is a point there in what you're saying that maybe for a specific job, one of them is better fitting than another one. And then maybe that's a better choice. I think that I'm always in that camp of give me the tool that does as many things as possible, so I don't need to try different tools and use different tools. So for me, for example, on one hand, Figma does make a lot of sense. There is, I think, a bit of a learning curve over there to learn how to use all the features there.
I agree.
Yeah, although it's not as complex as some other, older systems. But then that's why I'm so much. I like Miro, because in Miro I can also do other things, not just the wireframing and some of the high fidelity, but I can also do workshopping and workflows and all of those things. And I guess that between Lucidchart and Miro, it's probably about the same thing, because now they have Lucidspark as well. But I don't know why I was always drawn more. I tried both of them, and I was always drawn more to Miro than to Lucidchart. I think it's a matter of personal preference. I don't think there is
what's available at the time.
Because you mentioned you used Lucid and you loved it, and other people mentioned they loved it. So from what I'm hearing about Lucidchart, I only hear good things. But for some reason, when I tried it, I felt that too constrained.
Maybe at the time it was geared more towards user flows and stuff like that. And that, I think you mentioned in the name itself, Lucidchart kind of leads you away from the thinking of things as a UX UI experience.
But so that's really, I mean, that was a small point there, but I think that
from an early adopter standpoint, it's a small point, but I think it's important, because if you're looking at these different tools, a name, if you just have the names listed out, Figma, Miro, Balsamiq, and Lucidchart, just the name itself, it's going to pop out. So, I think it's a fair point. And then I did like it quite a bit. I had not used it before, and I found it really easy to use. They had a lot of great components. It was really flexible in terms of doing presentations, exporting the images. I found it really easy to use. And as I was mentioning with Faith, they had great templates. You don't have to use them, but they're good foundational points. So I did quite like it. And then Balsamic's one I'm definitely going to look more into. Really was interested looking more into it. Just having something simple.
Yeah.
Keeping it
Yeah.
simple.
Simple and more restricted onto the very low fidelity.
Yes.
That really forces you to do the wireframing.
Right. Right.
Which is really important step that we many times forget to do. I did once, I worked with a friend. He asked for help for me to help him develop some mobile application.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, I didn't use actually any tools. And now, for some reason, thinking about Balsamiq reminds me of that experience that I did on paper. And it's almost like, taking that experience from the paper and putting it on on Balsamiq. And back then, actually, it was funny because it was mobile. I went to the dollar store. There is a chain here in Canada called Dollarama. And I bought this notepad in that have the shape, the size and the shape and the background of an iPhone.
Yeah.
And then the middle is just blank. So you can draw whatever you want in it. So I was cool. Like drawing.
Yep.
I did. So I got, that was by template.
Yeah.
Like you have, but really Balsamiq, I think, mimic that type of experience. And as we heard, it can also create those experiences that users can actually go through, so you can test it with them, which is very important as well.
Yeah, that's important as well.
Yeah. But then if the designers needs to take that and redesign everything from scratch, that's I don't know how they like that, right?
Yeah, that's a good point. And I think with this topic was, what was interesting is you can have multiple tools in this space. Talking to Rob, it sounded as though they had Miro, there was a Figma, and you can have these other tools in the same company. Your designers may be using Figma, and you could use Balsamiq. That could definitely be a possibility. So, whereas some of the other stuff we talked about, you're going to have one Jira. You're going to have, you're not going to have two backlog systems, right? So that's what's interesting about this space and design, is that your designers may be using something, you may be using something else for wireframing, and if they can work with one another, that's an important thing to have. So
exactly, if they are compatible, but if they're not, having multiple applications also can create issues.
Sure.
Like I had a situation where the designers were using Figma, and then they saw, oh, Figma has FigJam available, so they started using FigJam, and I was using Miro, and the rest of the team was using Miro, and all of a sudden now you have two systems that are doing the same thing,
right?
And it's hard to collaborate now. So you're kind of breaking down the collaboration because we have too many tools.
That's a good point. Yeah. So you maybe that's why Figma been so successful, because they have a little bit of everything and they're really good at what they do. Or
I'm not sure. I mean, it's interesting to me to see what happens at companies where they're using both Figma and Miro, or Figma and other similar product. And then some people are starting to use FigJam because it's part of the license. They don't have to pay extra. Do they move to that? Do they move everyone to that? Or do they tell them, okay, everyone uses Miro, you have to use Miro, so stop using FigJam, or whatever. But that's part of the product-led type of products that everyone is signing up for free licenses, and then they use. So you have all of these products coming from bottom, and then if you want to standardize it across the team, you have to make some decisions about, okay, so what is the product that we're going to use? And no matter what you will do, someone will not be happy about it.
That's true. Yep. So. Yeah. That's where product operations comes into it, right? So
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, and the collaboration piece of it, I think, is very important as well. I was able to collaborate with the team on Lucidchart, and I thought that was really helpful. Just having them in the board with me. Everyone needs to be on the same license to get in and edit the board and stuff. But I also experienced that with Miro, just being able to go in and have people look at your wireframes, experience it along with you. And so I think that's really a powerful thing, seeing that in Figma as well. Balsamiq, it sounded like the cloud version maybe has that, but we weren't quite able to dig that up.
Yeah. I might give it a try to see how it is. Just to give another go at it with Balsamiq specifically. But it's the fact is that they're still there. They still have lots of users, even though other products newer than them have come into the market. There's still definitely a need for what they're doing.
Right. I think what I got the most out of it is, hey, don't necessarily rush into the hi-fi. You know, the because I think when I originally was working in Figma, I think I just kind of rushed personally into that, just because I knew it was there, and I knew I could, get something up, relatively quickly without thinking about that more. Hey, let's keep it simple and just let's start at that wireframing end of things.
And I think that it's not so much because of, it's the problem is not in what we're doing when we do that. The problem is more when you present it to users to test it. It's very hard for them to separate the usability from the design. So to them, if they just see a wireframe without all the colors and everything around it, it will be much clearer to them that this is not so much about the design, because they know you're not going to give them an application that is drawn on a piece of paper. Right.
Yeah.
They know, or something that looks like that. So once you introduce the colors and the designs of all the different elements in a more high fidelity type of design, they will think, okay, is that what you're going to give me? Yeah. I actually once got a high fidelity design of something that looked almost like a wireframe, because it was so monochromatic, black and white.
Yeah.
And I didn't even realize that what I'm being shown is actually a wireframe. Sorry, is actually the not the wireframe, the design itself.
Yeah.
For some reason, I thought it was a wireframe, which is the opposite problem, actually.
Yep.
But that's really the thing, that it's not so much about how we do our work, but it's more about what are we trying to test. If we're trying to test usability, or we're trying to test design. So usability, the user experience, it's much easier to, especially where the elements are on the screen and what the flow of the elements and so, etc. It's much easier to do it with the low fidelity, that there is no design involved in there, because then the users will have different mindset and they will see different things than if you do a high fidelity.
Yeah, that came up on one of the episodes where we talked about, like, if you showed a high fidelity version, the customer may think it's already baked out. They may already think that, hey, this is it. This is what it's going to look like.
Exactly.
And then you have to go back and say, hey, that was not what we were doing. So,
and you might end up wasting time with them saying, oh, I don't like this color, or I don't like the size of this button. And I'm like, I don't care about the colors. I don't care right now about the size of the button.
Ignore all that.
And then you're really wasting a lot of time with that.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Right.
And so if you start at the wireframe, if you start at that level, you can wipe all that out and not confuse people.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think that's good.
Yeah. So that's why, going back to the first point, how we started this discussion, it's really more about the wireframing and less about the UI and about the UX and less about the UI.
Yep.
Right. And I think that overall, product people probably are better at UX than user interface. Only because user interface has its own skill of designing colors and what works with what and all of that stuff. Where user experience is more about what is the problem I'm trying to solve here, and one of the problem is, can the user use that, right?
That definitely is the distinction there. Ultimately, you want to leave the UI to the experts, right? So you want to leave that to your designers if you have them. So and that's where you kind of wander into, if you do have a team that does that, you can do these wireframes and then pass that on to them, and then they can come up with that more high fidelity work. And you don't kind of like step on toes and wander into the spaces where you're not as experienced, I guess.
Yeah. And then also, when you look at UX UI designers out there, many of them are kind of interchangeable. They're like, their title is UX UI designer, but many of them come from actually UI, and then they grow into UX, where it is actually quite different, paradigm and mindset. It's very related to each other. But I've worked also with people that are great UX designers, and they said, I'm not a UI designer. I don't know much about colors, but my core is about understanding UX. You remember we talked with Troy Winfrey many episodes ago.
Oh yeah.
About UX research, right?
Yep.
And the tools that UX researchers are using. I think it was episode 16.
Yeah.
And that was specifically about UX, strategy of UX and research of UX, where UI is a whole thing on its own. And someone that is a great UI designer is not necessarily a great UX designer, and vice versa.
At the end of the day, what this series kind of shows is try to keep it simple. Think about what job you're trying to do as a product manager, trying to solve problems, understand the journey. Start with the wireframes and work your way up. Don't start on the high fidelity stuff.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of what I really get out of all this.
Absolutely. And we are definitely, I think, much more involved in the UX, and we should be involved in the UX rather than in the UI design itself.
And that's what I've been working on, doing journeys and stuff like that, thinking about how the customers, from logging into the application to the point they log out, and what jobs to be done, what are they trying to accomplish, and just thinking about their journey through there.
Exactly.
And that's where these things can come up and be important.
Do they understand where they are? Do they understand how to go to the next thing? Are they getting stuck and they don't know what to do next?
Right.
All of these things.
Right. And then leave your designers to figure out what colors and buttons and stuff like that, what components to ultimately use in the application.
Perfect. So this series also took us a bit of time to make, but so we hope everyone you're still with us.
Yes.
We had also our own day jobs and personal projects that we're working on. So just bear with us as we go and add new episodes as we go. We are going to start a new series soon. We're not sure yet what topic it's going to be, but we will ask you all on LinkedIn and then get that rolling. And also we're talking with some people about some one-off episodes. So we're excited to continue.
Yep. Looking forward to it. This was a really good series. Really enjoyed the guests. Thank you to all of them for coming on. We really appreciate it. And we look forward to the next series, the next coming episodes.
Absolutely.
Take care, everybody.
Take care. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you to all the listeners. We really appreciate the feedback and support. Please leave us a review to help others find the show on Apple or Spotify or anywhere else you're listening to the show.